This is me with Japan's most dangerous gang, the Yakuza.
How many people have you? Don't ask stupid question.
And for the next 72 hours, I've been granted special access behind the scenes into their ruthless, brutal underworld.
Oh, there's a fight.
To understand their shadowy businesses and their deadly way of lifestyle.
Japanese Yakuza, but remember Pearl Harbor.
This will be a crazy 72 hours. And the timer starts right now.
So I'm on my way to go meet one of Japan's most infamous and dangerous former Yakuza bosses. A man who's multiple people and spent most of his life in prison. And today, he promised to share his darkest criminal secrets with me. Let's go meet him. So just send me his location, and I believe he's going to be here somewhere. I see a blacked out Lexus, so I'm guessing that's him. Well, he likes to make an entrance. There's Hashimoto.
Welcome to Japan. So glad to see you again.
アリ大丈夫？緊張してなんか汗かいてるみたいで。Ali, are you okay? You look sweating.
I am
Nervous.
I am a little bit nervous, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. 私のチームアリ紹介する。
Well, let me introduce you to my team.
チームから。
He's my younger brother, aiming to become a politician. And he is the boss of my black business, the backbone of my
ブ
life.
ラックビジネスのボス。
And her?
彼女は私の
Well,
アシスタン
she is my assistant.
That's your assistant? Okay.
ト。よろしくね。
It's a nice car, huh?
He said that he likes the car.
This is just the little toy. The big toy is at home.
こんなのちっちゃなおもちゃだよ
You。can probably buy a whole house for that,
買えるぐらい
but
だ。
I'll show you something even better.
もっといいもの見せてあげるよ。
Not even 5 minutes into meeting the former Yakuza boss, we left Tokyo and we made our way to an airport at Yokohama City, where we were greeted by a $7 million helicopter. And this is when Mr. Hashimoto promised me that the next 72 hours would be life-changing. He was not only going to give me a rare glimpse into what it means to be a former Yakuza boss, but he was also going to show me the new business ventures he is now pursuing.
This is my helicopter. Ali, come.
Alright, first time on a helicopter. Oh, I nearly fell. Wow, this is kind of exciting and scary at the same time.
At this point, I was shitting myself. Here I am sitting next to one of Japan's most infamous and dangerous former Yakuza bosses, and yet I was even more terrified of the heights.
すごく困難と向き合っていて。
In my crazy life, I face a lot of difficulties and challenges.
だけど
But when I am this high up in the sky, my problems seem so small and insignificant. In these moments, the noise fades away and clarity emerges. Here, I can breathe deeply, think simply, and see clearly.
共有したかった。私は秋葉原で
I run various companies in Akihabara, where I work with various people through my vast
こんな
connections.
方たちと一緒に
Many refer to me as the boss of Akihabara, but in fact, it goes much more beyond that.
秋葉原だけ
I have brothers, not only in Akihabara and Tokyo, but all over Japan and around the world.
いるし、そういう人たちが私を
As we continued to fly higher, Mr. Hashimoto was eager to dive into his new business ventures. He wanted to show me the world he is now building, and it's a world that was a far cry from his old life in the Yakuza.
The venue over there will host our MMA fighting event in a few days, where I will be serving as an advisor. Trust me, it is going to be an incredible show.
To me, it was clear that he wanted to prove himself and to build something legit in a world he once dominated with fear. And as I continued to ponder on that thought, he made me an offer, and it's an offer which I obviously couldn't refuse.
I would like you to join me as the guest of honor at my fighting event.
I have a question. You brought me on top of the port in the helicopter, and you are a former Yakuza boss. Are you gonna throw me out?
That will depend on how you behave.
As we continued to fly over Yokohama City, getting a private tour by a former Yakuza boss, I started to realize that the next 72 hours were not going to be ordinary. And it was at this point that the crazy reality of the situation hit me.
I'm here, the former Yakuza boss, in a helicopter on top of Yokohama City. Life is crazy, bro. Say yes. Here we are. We're back down to earth.
After that crazy experience, Mr. Hashimoto then drove me to my hotel in his sleek new Mercedes Benz. And he also told me to meet him the next day at 6 in the morning. Trust me, when a former Yakuza boss gives you an order like that, there was no question. I was there on time. However, before allowing me a deeper look into his life, he had a single request. We had to stop at the shop to buy tomato juice and cigarettes, which obviously confused me. And it wasn't until we left the shop that I realized that we were headed to the graveyard to visit his late father, as he wanted to ask for forgiveness for the dark sins he was about to confess to me.
So right now we're going inside the temple. This is the graveyard. This is where his old boss, or his father, is resting at the moment.
I'm sorry. Give me a quick moment to clean up. Since my Yakuza days, I've always been like this. Even as a kid, I had to make sure everything was clean and in order. Keeping things organized and tidy, both physically and emotionally, has always been my way of dealing with life. This is life too. We must respect this insect's life. Please excuse me. These were his favorite.
And he had a bad liver, that's why I'm giving him the tomato.
It's ironic, isn't it? As a living person, you have to drink healthily so you don't die. But once you're dead, you can drink whatever you like. But I still bring these drinks because it's how I remember him. Oh, Dad, living is tough.
Seeing a former Yakuza boss being so emotional really took me by surprise. And so, I was keen to ask him about what his late father meant to him, but his response really shocked me.
Can you explain to me what your father and your old boss meant to you?
He was the meaning of life for me. He was more of a dad than my actual dad. Let me tell you something about him. He was an incredible person, but he was also an irresponsible man. When I was a child, I was always by his side. But when it was time to enter the enemy's territory, he would go it alone and would never tell anyone. He would take his 2 guns, hide them under the mat of the back seat, and tell the driver to head straight to the rival's headquarters. That's the kind of man he was. As I grew older and led my own gang, I faced a similar situation that landed me in prison. I too didn't tell anyone, and I went it alone. And that's when I realized I had been imitating my dad, keeping others away from me in order to protect them. Over time, I understood his irresponsibility in a new light. It was a form of leadership. In sacrificing himself, he shielded the people around him. For me, it was a great life lesson to realize that true responsibility actually laid in that irresponsible way of doing things. People loved him and respected him because he understood and embodied one simple fact. Every man dies, but not every man truly lives. That's why there's no way I can turn my back on being my dad's child. I will become his successor, a godfather, and a politician. He will not just be the father of any politician, he will be the father of the president of Japan. And since he shaped me into that president, I will never give up.
At this point, I was genuinely taken back. Here I am with one of Japan's most infamous and dangerous former Yakuza bosses, yet all I saw was a simple man in front of me. A man that missed his father, and that would sacrifice everything just to see him again. And despite our completely different lives, his pain really resonated with me.
I lost my father when I was younger as well, and
Not a week goes by where I don't think about him, and I guess a lot of the things that I do as well is to make him proud. I haven't necessarily done everything correctly the way I want it and the way that I would like him to see it. But yeah, essentially, a lot of the things that I do are for him as well. And I'm sure your dad is very proud of you. He's probably up there in heaven looking down at you. And I'm very sure he is already proud of who you are right now and the person you will become in the future. And even though there was a language barrier between us, it was clear that our emotions spoke louder than our words. Hey man.
誇りに思ってほしくてこの仕事やってます。だから本日さんはきっとこれから日本の若い世代の人たちをいっぱい助けていく人になると思うし、すいません、すいません。
Let me get in on this as well.
I'm sorry. I didn't expect to cry. See you soon, Dad.
Having sought his father's forgiveness, Mr. Hashimoto gave me his blessings to interview him. But first, he needed to clear his head with a quick morning run.
Running every morning makes me feel truly alive. In these moments, nothing else matters. No relationships, no distractions, no work, money, or politics. Not even the Yakuza. To me, this is not just about physical fitness. It is about strengthening my mindset and to simply do without thinking. I lived a life shaped by the streets, a gangster's journey that led me to prison. The reason I can say I truly understand life now is because of the prison I entered in Japan. A place of the harshest security, reserved for those who've committed grave crimes and are serving long life sentences. Spending years in that prison shifted something deep inside me and ultimately shaping the success that I have become today.
Learning about Mr. Hashimoto's dark past was genuinely frightening, and it was clear that he lived a crazy life previously. And so, I really wanted to find out what his motivation was for starting to turn his life around.
Now, I am wealthy beyond my wildest imagination, and I could live without needing to do anything. Yet, I choose to open an MMA business because it gives me a sense of purpose, a feeling that I am truly alive. It's not about the money. I have more than enough. But what I do want is the opportunity to guide the younger generation and to help them avoid the mistakes I made. As a child, I had no one to turn to, no one who understood my pain or shared in my struggles. That void is what drives me now, to give others the support I never had. To me, that is the essence of being a true godfather. Facing and confronting challenges is what truly makes me feel alive. It's necessary, and you must be prepared. When the weather is sunny, I enjoy it, but I am always ready for the rain. In life, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. There are so many people who are utterly incompetent. In a world where so many politicians are sleeping in luxurious silky sheets, here I am, up early, running, sweating, and pushing myself. When I am here, I can't help but wonder, where are the leaders of today who truly embody discipline and dedication?
That was a hard thing to do, man. I need to stop smoking. Oh, he's a much fitter man than I am. Whew. What other politician do you know that's doing that, man? Thank you, boss.
Wow. Having undoubtedly impressed Mr. Hashimoto with my physical performance, I finally managed to earn his trust. And so, we headed to a luxurious bar in the heart of Tokyo for a sit-down interview. He promised to answer anything that I will ask him, and believe you me, I was not planning on holding back. So, as a former Yakuza boss, you spent 11 years of your life behind bars. Can you describe what life was like for you in prison?
I think Japanese prisons are incredibly harsh, possibly the worst in the world. The rules are so strict that they govern every part of your life. You cannot stand up or move around unnecessarily. If you sit, it has to be either in a kneeling or cross-legged position, no slouching or reclining. Your bedding must be neatly folded, or else it's a serious violation. Every article of clothing, including personal items like underwear, must be handled precisely according to the instructions. There are even times when you're forbidden to wash your head or wipe your body, which is part of the harshness.
At this point, I really wanted to know what kind of situations he was involved in that landed him behind bars in the first place. And so, I had to ask this question.
Where's the closest you've come to dying?
I was once out late at night in an area called Ueno in Tokyo. I made eye contact with a group of people and they gave me a dirty look. At first I thought it might just lead to a fight, but when a crowd started gathering on their side, I realized this was going to be something much worse. There were just 2 of us, and they had about 8 people. Foolishly, I thought we could handle it. But when I saw what they were carrying, iron pipes, massive hammers, and other weapons, I knew this wasn't just going to be an ordinary fight. Our car was parked close by, and I understood we had no chance, so we did the only thing we could. We ran into the car and we drove off. We were then chased and one of their group pulled out a gun. He then fired 4 shots. My so-called brother, who was driving at the time, didn't just speed straight ahead, he turned left. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I realized why. In Japan, we use right-hand drive. So by turning left, the bullets would be aimed at my side of the car and not his. I can still see it clearly even now, all these years later. The bullets were this bright orange color, glowing against the night as they zipped past. That memory still haunts me until this day.
Feeling anxious, I deliberated on whether I should ask my next question. But since Mr. Hashimoto promised to answer anything that I will ask him, I decided to go for it. The risk I took was calculated, but f*** me, man, I am bad at maths.
How many people have you killed?
Don't ask stupid question.
I will not reveal how many I killed, but I'll tell you about my first. When I was in 3rd grade, I used to visit my relatives in North Korea in Pyongyang. They lived on the 21st floor of this old apartment building. In North Korea, power outages were pretty common, and when the electricity went out, the elevator wouldn't work. Whenever that happened, we'd have to climb all the way up, 21 floors, step by step. It was tiring, but there wasn't much choice. One day, during another blackout, I got bored out of my mind. So I went to the balcony and started throwing trash over the edge, just to see what would happen. The wind was super strong, and it made the trash float away, which fascinated me. At some point I thought, let's try something bigger. I filled up this big plastic tub with water and threw it down. I didn't think much of it until I saw it hit some people below. I panicked and ran to my room and hid. The next day, I found out one of them had died. I was terrified. I went straight back to Japan after that. That was the first time I killed someone. I never told anyone, and I kept it inside me for years.
Having asked such a stupid question and hearing back his answer, I started to turtleneck whilst trying not to shit myself. And it was at this point that my nervousness was starting to show.
You're obviously a very successful business now. Let me say that. So you're obviously a very successful
Businessman.
So right now you're obviously a very successful businessman. I don't know why I can't say it.
全く同じところで
I can't do it. I'm sorry. So you're obviously a very successful businessman. Let me rephrase the question.
Okay, do it again.
So you obviously are a very successful businessman.
Come on. Come on.
Having gave up on that question, I decided to ask him if he regretted any of his past actions. But his answer really surprised me.
What is your biggest regret in life?
ありません。
There isn't.
No regret? Nothing.
Nope.
Wow. Wow.
Regardless of what I've done in the past, even the negative things, those experiences taught me something. And those lessons have kept me from repeating the same mistakes. The bad actions, the crimes, the things that hurt others, they've all shaped me into who I am today. If I said I regretted anything, it would mean I didn't intend to do it and that I didn't mean to hurt those people. But that's not true. I don't have those regrets. As a Godfather, I can't afford to have regrets. If you're someone who carries regret, then you're not cut out to be the boss.
As I continued to interview Mr. Hashimoto, I was told that our interview must now be ended. But first, he wanted to share this funny story.
Let me tell you this funny story. My grandma and my mum are like the two opposing pillars in my life. Not in a good or bad way, just that they represent different sides of things. While I was in prison, we had this reward system. You work while you serve your time. If you get punished, you might only earn about 200 yen in a month. But if you stay out of trouble and work hard, you could make maybe 1,000 or 2,000 yen a month. There were people who saved over 10,000 yen and would send it to someone important to them. That was my goal. I wanted to send money to my mum and grandma, since I had never earned clean, honest money before, and I wanted to show them I was serious and that I had changed. So I worked steadily until I have saved 20,000 yen. When I finally had it, I split it in half and gave it to my mum and grandma. Not long after, my mum came to visit me in prison and said, "Thank you." I asked her, "Did the money arrive?" She smiled and said, "All of the 10,000 yen was gone in 30 seconds at gambling at pachinko." Later, after I got out of prison, my grandma wasn't feeling well. She asked me to take her to the hospital, and that's when we found out she had colon cancer, and that's when she sadly died.
When his mom was cleaning up all those grandma's stuff, she found a tiny little wallet. And it's old and it's tiny. So she's like, "Oh, what's inside?" And there was like a folded 10,000 yen that he gave her. And she still kept it, right? So his mom took the money to gambling center. Spent it on in 30 seconds again.
Oh, no. Oh, right, again.
Again.
That's terrible.
We met up the next morning at Mr. Hashimoto's MMA business, a venture he was determined to run legitimately, professionally, and with sanctioned referees. And if you thought that this was some small-time operation, you, my friend, are sadly mistaken.
Obviously, we are VIP. We're going backstage now.
Following Mr. Hashimoto through the venue, it was clear that he carried himself with a certain presence. He walked swiftly and with a purpose, and stood out not just as a wealthy man, but as someone who commanded power and demanded it.
Ali, this is my young fighter, Juki.
After meeting the young fighter Juki, he also introduced me to Japanese acting royalty, Mr. Murakami.
That's a crazy picture.
And finally, to a renowned Japanese fighter.
He's a very, very famous underground fighter, Hiro Mikawa.
Yeah, motherfucker, remember Power Papa.
Yeah, let's see. Everybody, if you are a dog in Japan, everybody knows him.
Wow.
Yeah. Japanese Yakuza.
And with that, we made our way towards the first fight, where I was handed a VIP bracelet with the words "The Godfather" and a rainbow design that symbolized the Japanese fighting spirit.
I want a good, clean fight. You're warriors, so fight like warriors, with honor and discipline. But if things get messy, don't worry. I'll be happy to step in and set you straight. Is that clear?
The atmosphere was intense, filled with testosterone, and it was f***ing primal.
Crazy. I'm right next to the ring. I love Japan.
And as I tried to keep my excitement in check, the first fight kicked off, and it was a fight that ended as fast as it started. After a few more fights, the main event was edging closer. So I headed backstage to meet Mr. Hashimoto, who was training his young fighter, Juki. At just 19 years old, he had an impressive record of 14 wins. And it was a record he was keen to make 15-0.
I want you to throw your cross punch further. Don't forget to rotate from the hips.
Bro, that is some serious jab, man.
As busy as Mr. Hashimoto was running the entire venue, I was really taken back by the fact that he still had time to train his fighter. And to me, it became crystal clear that he really meant it when he called himself the Godfather. And so, I really needed to ask this question.
So obviously you've been involved in boxing for the majority of your life. You've been a champion since a very young age. Why is it important for you to still be connected to your roots and still be involved?
To put it simply, my goal is to share my journey with these young fighters and to give them a stage where they can harness their energy and channel it into something constructive rather than letting it flow through crime. I want them to see that strength has purpose when guided by discipline and focus. When I was young, I was not fortunate enough to have many good seniors or bosses around me. As a true godfather, I feel that it is my duty to be like a parent to these fighters and to point them in the right direction. I share my struggles, my lessons, and the mistakes I wish I'd avoided, offering them an alternative path. My mission is to shape them into true warriors so that they won't lose themselves to the brutality that consumes so many.
At this point, we were then interrupted, and our interview had to be cut short.
Oh, maybe it's Juki's fight.
I then ran back inside the venue, only to witness one of the craziest shows of my life.
Bitch, I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Bitch, I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back.
Where was I? Oh, right. Yeah, Juki's fight.
Our boy Juki is coming up next.
As the ring girl announced the fight, the atmosphere was electric and thick with tension, and everyone was laser focused. And don't you worry, me too.
Me too. Me too. I'm riding my ruthless see-through.
You're welcome. Let's go.
Juki, stay relaxed.
I love this guy right here.
At this point, there was no going back. It was time to sink or swim. As soon as the fight started, it was obvious that both fighters came here to fight. And even though Juki had a clear height disadvantage, he made a really strong start. But perhaps blinded by his early success, Juki made a crucial mistake and let his guard down and took a brutal punch to the face. And having gotten a barrage of illegal blows to the back of the head, it was obvious that Juki was feeling dazed, and the other fighter wasted no time to capitalize on this. And what came next was crazy.
Even the cage is open.
As Mr. Hashimoto closed the gate, he began coaching Juki, urging him to stay calm and collected. And this is when Mr. Hashimoto really started to shine, offering valuable advice and tactics. With Mr. Hashimoto's advice still fresh in his mind, Juki went full X game mode and decided to return the earlier favor. And with just 10 seconds on the clock, Juki showed his true warrior spirit and decided to leave everything in the ring.
Let's go! I think he's got it.
We all stood there watching in anticipation as the fight went to the judge's decision. And after what felt like an eternity of deliberation, the decision was finally made.
Let's go! Let's go! Got it! Juki! That's crazy. At one point he thought he was losing. Slow him down a little bit. Like, the man got it, bro. Let's go.
We then headed backstage where it was clear that everyone was overwhelmed by emotion.
The boys got it, bro. Let's go. Let's go, bro. Let's go, bro. This is the man right here.
This win is for all my teammates and Mr. Hashimoto. I couldn't have won on my own.
As Juki did his media interviews, Mr. Hashimoto stood back like a proud parent and a godfather. He also didn't step in to make sure he does not overshadow Juki at this incredible moment.
Honestly, I couldn't be happier for him. I almost teared up. He put in so much work both physically and mentally to prepare for this fight. He stayed disciplined and stuck to a strict diet. To me, he had already won the fight before he even stepped into the ring. At one point, the punches were flying and the cage door flew open. I even lost my finger.
Mama lost his fingers twice. Well, good job.
After a very successful night, we of course had to celebrate and go to the after party. But since Juki was only 19 and couldn't attend, I obviously had to take it upon myself to party hard enough for the both of us.
Babe, can you light me up?
Oh!
Oh, you got so many lighters.
And as I was the guest of honor, I was then put in charge to make a toast. But let's just say, I completely fumbled it.
So I've been put in charge to make a toast. Thank you for having me and for showing me the real Japan.
本物の日本見せてもらって本当ありがとうございます。
Cheers to you.
ちょっとやばい日本でしたけどね。ワンチャン裏の日本ですよ。
It's a behind scene of Japan.
This is the side of Japan that I like.
でもそのサイドの方が好きです。
Cheers. Let's go. I'm sticking soda.
Having completely embarrassed myself, Mr. Hashimoto then introduced me to the boss of Yokohama, a man who owns the majority of the shipping ports, venues, and some of the biggest hotels in this city. Naturally, I wanted to take full advantage of this rare opportunity by asking this question.
What does it take to be the Yokohama boss?
I come from a Yakuza family. My grandfather was the Don of Yokohama. As a family, we have a lot of power and special interests. Because of that, we use those interests to exert control in various places, which is why no one can oppose us.
With you growing up
connected to the Yakuza. Was you ever tempted to join?
Not at all.
なら全然ないです。
That way of life is not for me.
その生き方を The Yakuza organization is like a family, right? If you become a family, you have to listen to your boss. Boss is your father. And also you have a brothers, older brothers, younger brothers. You have to protect your younger brother. You have to listen to your older brother. If he say you die, you die.
大きく分けちゃうと
In Japan, there are two societies,
それ生き方って2つあるん
the
です。
legitimate society and the other is the Yakuza society.
ヤクザ社会って
The legitimate society is about how to live, while the Yakuza society is more about how not to die.
At this point, it was finally time to party. And if you know anything about Japanese bosses, they absolutely love to karaoke.
Yeah, boy. Guys, we're doing it again. So we're back in Japan and we're gonna do Backstreet Boys. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Nice. Let's go. We're doing it even bigger this time. We got a duo. Let's go. I keep telling you, life is crazy. You gotta say yes more than you say no. I'm here with the Yokohama boss and the Akihabara boss singing to Westlife. Backstreet Boys, let's go. I said it wrong again. Go ahead. Let's go. So now I know the boss of Akihabara and boss of Yokohama. I'm going to be good in Japan, right?
People have called me the fake boss of Akihabara in the comments. Can you believe that?
I think we're good.
After that incredible singing duo, it was time for another one of Mr. Hashimoto's favorite songs. But trust me, I was not expecting this choice.
Hashimoto, I need a final song request.
Maybe.
Which one?
Maybe.
Baby.
Maybe.
Justin Bieber. Say no more. We got it. All right. So, baby. All right. Justin Bieber, baby.
And if you were still in any doubt about Mr. Hashimoto's singing ability, just take a listen to this. As we continued to sing terribly, I began to reminisce on the events of the last 72 hours. I came to Japan to meet this former Yakuza boss, not expecting much from it. Yet, I felt like I was leaving with a newly found friend instead. Mr. Hashimoto promised to give me a rare glimpse into what it means to be a former Yakuza boss, and I can't help but feel that he kept his word and went above and beyond what he promised. And in just 72 hours, he took me on an emotional roller coaster, and with it, shared his darkest, saddest, and happiest moments of his life. And yes, his dark past will always be part of him, but to me, that pales in comparison to the man he has become today.
I am the worst singer. Let's go.
And with that, I wanted to leave you with Mr. Hashimoto's final words. Rather than letting your past define you, take action to learn from it, to grow through it, and to become stronger because of it. After all, every man dies, but not every man truly lives.
How about we do a Japanese style closing?
皆さん、stand up.
Let's go for the first one on 3.
いきます。せーの、よー。
And if you like this video, you're gonna love this one. So go ahead and check it out.
See you in the next one.